Let's call the meeting in order for June 13th, 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take roll.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Crossman.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Excused.
Councilmember Hess. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember Kaminsky. Mayor Camden.
I'm here. All right, can we get agenda approval? Councilmember Hess?
I'd like to move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Kaminsky. All those, or excuse me, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on, we have a special presentation. We have a proclamation for Juneteenth. City of Yelm proclamation proclaiming June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in Yelm, Washington. Whereas we acknowledge on June 19th, 1865, the last group of enslaved African Americans were informed of their liberation in Texas, 2.5 years after the implementation of the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas in order that we may never forget the evils of slavery and its aftermath, we acknowledge the injustices and sufferings Blacks experienced under slavery. And whereas Juneteenth celebrates the freedom, achievement, and contribution of Black Americans, past, present, and future. And whereas to promote racial healing, reconciliation, and justice, it is important to recognize the significance of Juneteenth, continue engaging in dialogue on race relations. And whereas during this Juneteenth event, we appreciate the African-American experience and celebrate the inclusion of all races, ethnicities, and nationalities as we commit to working together toward equitable experiences and opportunities for all those in our community. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Joe DePeno, hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 to be Juneteenth 2023 in the city of Yelm. And I encourage all to join me in this celebration. Sign the city of Yelm, Washington, this 13th day of June, 2023. Moving on to public comment. We have 2 people signed up right now. We have 3 minutes each. If there's anyone else that wishes to address council, please fill out a little blue card and we'll get you going. All right, Rachel Haskins.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Haskins. My identity is in Christ Jesus, and no one can take that from me. The Bible says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Isaiah 5:20. You don't get to cherry pick laws you want to enforce or disregard. Frankly, every human should be concerned when their city government is showing preferential treatment to some businesses and not others. In 2020, many people felt laws and the police unfairly targeted some and not others, and that caused riots in the streets across the country. We know you are willing to advance an agenda without regard to following laws that are supposed to be fairly enforced for all citizens and laws that are intended to protect children. You were contacted immediately after the first council meeting on 4/11/23 to help correct the unlawful practices, ask for a separate application for the private paid event of the all ages drag queen show and protect children. You failed on all fronts. The original application submitted, which is here, to rent the park only says 1 event. It does not say 2 events. In fact, it says it says 2023 First Pride Fest. It says it was a free event, no admission charge. Yet there it was an admission charge for an event. That is the second event that should have received another application. You were shown many times that another private paid event was being solicited, and you willfully broke rules to allow it and even support it. How much money was spent on the law enforcement you chose to hire on behalf of the taxpayers to give preferential treatment to Lady L's promotions? 40,000, 60,000? I saw SWAT, Yelm Police, State Patrol, Thurston County, drones, police stationed on the roof, and at least 40 medical and police vehicles. Or did these police just volunteer their time because they're nice people and care about the events in their town? How many police officers were present on Saturday, June 10th? I saw at least 25 to 40. Will the city of Yelm be responsible for the full costs of the police and their equipment, or will that be paid by the Thurston County and the state of Washington taxpayers? How come you chose to use taxpayer funds for this business owner, yet our Yelm public schools get lockdown notices at least once per month, from what I can tell, and law enforcement doesn't come out there in these numbers to protect the children? How much money did this event bring to the city? How come the police weren't inside the show watching to ensure our Yelm municipal codes and Washington state laws weren't broken as promised by Mr. Stansel to protect children from seeing sexual activities by adult entertainment? In the city, if the city ensures laws are followed, how come Lady L's Promotions was able to host three events, in the city of Yelm without a business license in 2021? Why were the performers accepting cash tips? We have pictures, like a strip club, see code 9.86.090. There were at least 20 plus kids that attended the show, and one 8-year-old was videoed depositing money in the top of an adult performer.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
You're welcome. Please answer these questions.
Thank you very much, and we will respond to those.
Thank you.
Henry Miller, please step to the podium.
That's okay.
It's good to be good. Thank you. You know, we've had a lot of interesting exposure ever since we started coming to this wonderful body and talking about town and how decisions are made here. And I am learning more every day. And I come here not as a city resident, but what I call 98597. It says Yelm on us. We pay for the schools, we bring money to this town, and we're involved in a lot of different parts. We're not your boss, and we're not your boss, but we are a part of this thing. And I'd like to find a way to where we have a stronger voice in seeing what the city's doing and becoming more partners with you. And I think the 98597 can be a blessing to you. You've got a tough enough job as it is. I'm 68 years old and I'm learning stuff every day. Some things I'm relearning, but the accountability for this group, not here just to throw rocks and stones and whatever, but here to be able to help you to do your job and bless us as we bless you. And so that's going to be a commitment that I have and I talk about in this town. The media was incredibly nasty, the Yelm community, whatever. I wouldn't even tune into that. I mean, horrible things were said, and I can understand why. There was more of a police presence. We staffed an ambulance, Bald Hill 17, with volunteers to make sure we could respond to any call that Yelm couldn't go to because the trauma in the park, which never happened. And it really kind of proved the fact that we could actually be there as neighbors in total disagreement, and yet without violence, without yelling and screaming. And I really feel good about that part. There's an interesting thing, and I wrote it on the napkin because that's where all the important stuff goes. And this is a quote: "You can avoid reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of avoiding reality." And just doing this doesn't keep us out of trouble. And the longer I live, the more I know that I need friends and I need people to bounce things off of and to be part of. And the better we do it, the better we all would. And I'm getting to meet a lot more business owners through Chamber of Commerce and see more how the city does things. And I'd like to, I'm sure we're getting close to the end over here, but I don't know who actually reviews the work that you do in this town. You know, you have general feelings, but there's got to be a way to kind of measure things and help you with your decisions so you know what's going on. And I'm going to be looking for ways to enhance the relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address council? All right, moving on. Is there anyone online that?
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Councilmember Hess.
I know that Ms. Haskins probably has a lot more. Is it possible that if she doesn't mind submitting her comments, the remainder of her comments, so that we can read them later? Is that appropriate to ask?
To read them in the council?
No, as in get it, and then copies can be made and passed out to each one of us. So that
Absolutely. Yes, if you wish to email that, we will go ahead and make some responses and we'll respond to all of those questions.
Thank you.
And then, just real quick, we are having a debrief on Thursday on what happened to the parks. recently, so we will have all that information ready around there.
Excellent, thank you.
Absolutely.
Were we invited to that?
No.
Okay. We'll just make up stories.
All right, moving on to new business. We have the city council applicant interviews. This is to fill Councilmember Blair's. Oh my gosh, I'm skipping. My apologies. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have the April 2023 register and position budget summary. Did you have something
I
for?
was just gonna say, I can make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Let me read it out first. We have the consent agenda with the April 2023 check register and position budget summary and the confirmation appointments for the City of Yelm Homelessness Committee. Councilmember Hess.
I'd like to move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Councilmember Brooks. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Crossman.
Just to state why I want to vote no is because I thought consistency is in order of confirmation appointments to a committee without us having any involvement in that
Sure.
decision process.
So council asked prior and previous meetings if we would, why do we do this? Why don't we just put it in the consent agenda rather than go through that process? So I put it just down in the consent agenda, but we can absolutely take that on and put it under new business.
So I know, I know I can raise that motion to bring it out. I'm just saying, I'm just giving my reason why I will be voting no on the consent agenda because of that issue, but it's not going to be.
I thought it was your suggestion to do that, but if I was mistaken, we won't.
No, it wasn't my suggestion, put in a consent agenda.
Okay. My apologies. So there has been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Hess.
Just a quick question. If I remember correct, according to the municipal codes, there are certain positions that we are involved in approving, and then there are other positions that you don't need our approval. You are just informing us who is to be there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this is one of those, the committee is one of those that it is you do it without necessarily being.
No, I believe this one was the council voted on to do. Is that correct?
The mayor makes the appointments and then they come before you for confirmation. So he's making the appointment, you're confirming his appointment.
There are some, mainly the local and external committees. But for this one, it was specified by council to do it this way with the mayor, with council approval. So it has been motion, has been second. Is there any further discussion? We'll go ahead and say, just do a roll call vote. Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Crossman,
Yeah.
Councilmember Hess,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks, Councilmember Kaminsky.
Yes.
Our motion carries. All right, moving on to now new business, city council applicant interviews. We have 10 council applicants. I'm not sure if every single one's here.
I'll grab whoever's here and take that there.
So we'll go down and, yeah, and I think some are out there. Yeah, but we will be taking them in alphabetical order. They'll be in the our conference room back there, and we'll take them back one at a time. And we are doing ranked choice voting as per the Yelm City Council. And this person will take their seat immediately following the confirmation. Following the oath of office, and we'll continue on the meeting. So with no further ado, we'll have James Frederick Lewis. He's probably out there. Cody, thank you. And council, we'll just go down the row. If you have a question, state your question. They'll go ahead and give their little speech if they choose to, but we'll go down the row. And anyone that wants to go ahead and ask a question can. If they don't, we can, if you have another question, go back after everyone else has had an opportunity to speak. James Frederick Lewis is not here. Okay, moving on to our next one. Councilmember Hess, yes.
Saying that you're going to go down and it's one question at a time and then back through one question. Correct. I just want to make sure that I understood that correctly.
All the council members will have an opportunity to ask a question. And before they make their decisions or before we go to executive session to evaluate the qualifications of candidates.
Did I hear correctly, Mr. Lewis was not here?
Correct. So we are going on to Lucas Fuller. James Frederick Lewis was the person that was not intended. So Lucas Fuller. Lucas, stand at the podium. If you have anything to say to the council, please do it, and then we'll go ahead and ask you questions. And after that, we'll go ahead and bring you back in that room and wait until everyone's done.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Please.
My name is Lucas Fuller. I've lived here in town since 2016. Before that, I lived up in Spanaway, a little bit in Federal Way. Just recently retired out of the military. Was an Air Force crew chief for 13 years. Very much love the community here. It's a small town like where I grew up, and I think I just still have a deep desire for public service.
Start down with Councilmember Richardson. Do you have any questions?
No, I just want to thank you for applying. And again, there's a lot of applicants. So if this doesn't work out, just keep applying. And thank you for just putting your name in. And for one, being here, that's a big thing. If you're not here, I'm not going to vote for you. So thank you for showing up.
Councilmember Crossman.
In your application, you said that the purpose of interest is your personal belief that serving community structure just as important as living in one. How else are you serving the Yelm City at this time, not in a council position?
Actually, this would be, I guess, my first attempt into that. When I was active duty, I worked so much, I actually didn't have time to be more involved in the community. So, like I said, still a desire to be a public servant. I would love to do that. Does that answer your question?
Councilmember Hess.
Question for you. Was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
I don't think I know enough about it, sir, to give you an honest answer to that. I believe that there was a lot of political clout and motivations behind each side. I believe that it caused a lot of division in this country, which is unfortunate because I believe that we need to be working together towards a better future than fighting each other.
Councilmember Brooks.
Mr. Fuller, thank you so much for your service. And thank you for applying to be sitting next to us tonight. I really liked how you mentioned strength and balance in your application. And I wanted to know, what would you do to diversify your audience as a city councilor to make sure that your representation is unbiased?
Actually, I think I have a little bit of experience that I'm currently employed over at Longshot, and believe it or not, just the year and a half that I worked there, the amount of people that come in from all walks of life is a great opportunity to not only learn from other people, but to also share and my experiences and my beliefs and things like that, and then to also, again, to learn from other people. I think that's important that you touch as many people as possible when it comes to community service, that way that you have a good understanding of where other people are coming from, instead of just, I think it's sometimes in political environments, people will make cut decisions or politically motivated decisions and really don't want to leave anybody behind. But at the same time, you still have to do what's best for the community. So.
For your answer, and that's why you looked familiar. I saw me something while I was there.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
I don't have any questions, but like Joe, I wanted to also say thank you for your service. Thank you for showing up. And if you're really interested in helping the community, please keep coming forward no matter what happens today. It's appreciated.
Is there any further questions from the council? All right, thank you very much. And we'll have Jason come in.
Thank you very much.
Jason, thank you, sir. Good questions. I believe Todd is also explaining the process to the applicants.
Jason Harris and Julia Hernandez are not here, so Bob Isom will be there.
or Robert on your list there. You guys, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whether we call it Bob or Robert. Mr. Bob Isam, please address council, any comments you have, and then we'll go down with questions asked.
My record pretty much speaks for itself, so if there's any questions, I'll be prepared to answer.
Okay. Councilor Richardson.
Bob, thank you again for applying. Since you have experience in this position, I'm curious to find out what were some things that you just dreaded and how the council acted? Like, is there a memory that you have where like, man, that was just a waste of my time?
You mean in terms of meeting or action?
Oh, fill me in.
Yeah, there were some pretty heavy debates about the purchase of some property, which really frustrated me at the time they went on. I mean, it should have been bought back then, and I think council bought it about 3 years after I was gone at a much higher price than it could have been purchased for. Yeah, that was pretty frustrating because they only make so much land.
Councilor Crossman.
I heard rumors that your wife's a good cook. But my question was, you only ask one at this time, unrelated to that, but it sounds good to me. Why do you want to get back into this?
I've got the time to devote to it. Now, I resigned because I had taken a job where I was traveling 8, 10, 12 days a month. So, and I just couldn't devote the time, and it was a job that I'd always wanted. So I took that job and stepped down from the council. Now I'm retired from that job, and I've got the time. I will state that I have no aspirations of running. That's why I didn't file. But I see that there's a position open where I might be able to fill a need for 5 or 6 months.
Councilor Hess.
Sir, was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
Was it legitimate and secure? What's that got to do with the council position? I'm just going to ask that question and then I'll answer yours. I don't understand what that has to do with the city council position.
In all honesty, it's because we had an insurrection that occurred because some people put out the lie that it was not a legitimate or secure election. And those people who followed that and those people who choose not to believe that it was legitimate and secure don't trust our democracy. And so to sit here on the city council, even though you may not think it affects that, it does affect because you will be interacting with the community and you will be either encouraging to vote or you could become a voice of insurrection if I'm just saying that's the reason why I'm asking.
Okay, I'll answer your question, but I'm going to tell you right, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I will answer your question. Yes, it was legitimate. It was certified by the U.S. Senate. It was legitimate.
Councilmember Brooks.
Mr. Isom, thank you for applying and thank you for your many years of being a civil servant. May I ask, which part of the position do you think that you could improve upon, being that this will be your second time around with an entirely new city council?
I'm entirely fascinated and always have been by the budget process. I'm a fiscal conservative. And I'll tell you that right now. And I always watched the budget and I would always continue to watch a budget. So budgetary matters, that's what interests me the most.
For answering my question.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Gary.
Just wanted to ask, just for fun, since you left, how do you think the subsequent city councils have done for the city of Yelm?
I wouldn't say that I have anything that I could legitimately bitch about. I mean, I've been watching what's going on, and I for the most part, agree with what the council's been doing.
Is there any further questions from the council? Councilmember Hess.
Mr. Isom, if an official such as the fire marshal or public health director were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety, what would your response be?
I'm sorry, I didn't get to who did?
If an official such as the fire marshal or public health director were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety or for public health, what would your response be?
I want to know why. Is it legitimate? And if it's legitimate, sure, do it.
Councilor Brooks.
I have another question for you, and that's in regards to community service. What is it that you've been doing since serving on the city council in regards to helping our community?
Helping the community. I'm actively involved with the Moose Fraternity, Royal Order Moose. And that's one of their main goals, to be active in the communities and help the youth and the seniors in the communities. I was responsible for every lodge in British Columbia, Alberta, and Washington. So I was extremely active in communities outside of Yelm as well. So
So you're not currently doing that?
I'm basically retired now.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Councilor Crossman.
That's my first question I want to ask. So the rumor has it was your wife brought food to study sessions.
And I don't pay attention to rumors because they'll come back and bite you if you do.
Councilor Hess.
Sir, on your application, you put a PO box. What is your home address?
204 Longmire Street Southwest, but don't try and Google it because it's screwed up.
Are there any further questions from the council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for the consideration.
Our next up is Amanda Johnstone.
Well, I heard a rumor that I flew to these sessions, do second session. Is that true? That's what I heard. Like and this, it sounds like a great idea to me. That's all I'm saying. I thought about it. Like up in time.
Go ahead and address the council with any comments you have, and then we'll go down the line and council will ask questions of you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm excited to be here and this opportunity to possibly join you. My name is Amanda Johnstone. I have lived in Yelm since 2017. I was born and raised in Tacoma, Washington. My husband David and I moved to to Lacey in 2011. And when it was time to buy a house, we settled on Yelm. That same year, we enrolled our son in Yelm Community Schools, and he's getting ready to finish 5th grade at Southport Elementary. I currently work as a director of operations for a litigation support company. I've been with them for 17 years. Being in the corporate world, I have experience with a lot of the things that you guys do on a daily basis with budget making, policy making, reviewing profit and loss statements, managing a team. I think my business finance experience transfers over to the government world fairly seamlessly. I currently volunteer with Multi-Care Health System with their Mary Bridge Children's Health Hospital. It's their Bridges program. It's a grief and loss support program for kids who have lost a parent or a sibling. Last year, I logged 150 hours with them. I am not running for the seat in the fall. My company is going in a different direction in 2024, and it's going to involve a lot of travel for me in the new year. And I think this position deserves someone who is able to give it 100%. Presently, I can do that. At the start of the year, my schedule is going to be very limited, but the following year, I am interested in running for a seat on the council. So I'd love to hear any questions you have for me.
Councilor Richardson.
So it says you're well versed in Robert's Rules of Order, yeah?
Correct.
Fantastic. So if there was any point in the meeting, how easy would it be for you to say point of order? Just be like, point of order. I mean, somebody's out of line, you got enough to call somebody out?
Oh, yeah. I was actually here at the study session last week and I had to bite my tongue a couple of times because my instinct was to say something.
Tell us what we did wrong.
We don't think you did anything wrong. I just had some thoughts on things that were being discussed.
Right on, thank you.
Councilor Crossman.
You answered my first question I had for you, so about why you weren't running. So my second question was, you said you have been critical. What is something you have been critical about the council? Give me your biggest one that you can think of off the top of your head.
Sure, I will actually address you since you asked the question. I think the amount of interaction that's done on Facebook, like the Yelm community groups that he mentioned, is a lot. I think there's individual loud voices within these Facebook community groups that you sometimes see as this is the voice of the people. But I don't think that is the true voice. It's just a loud voice. When we first moved to Yelm, Mayor DePinto knocked on our door when he was running the first time. And I have never in my 41 years had any candidate in any city knock on my door to ask me what I thought was important and tell me what he thought was important. I think council would benefit from actually talking to people in the community instead of just reading what they have to say on Facebook. So I was critical of various council members who engaged in that on Facebook.
Councilmember Hess.
Ms. Johnston, was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
I believe so, yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you so much for applying for this position to sit with us today. I was curious, you mentioned a couple things in your application, one being driving deaths, and then the other was your community service. So being that multi-care isn't here in Yelm, what are you doing to connect with constituents or other citizens now, your neighbors now?
I was involved with my son's booster club for a number of years, and Mary Bridge is actually working to expand their program beyond Pierce County, and Thurston County is the next area they're looking. So I would be at the forefront of that to bring that same program here. Mary Bridge is expanding down here. They're building the standalone ER. Multi-care is up in Lacey by Target. And with the driving deaths, honestly, when we moved here, driving down the road and seeing all of the crosses and having a son that's going to be driving in the next 5 years literally brings tears to my eyes. And since we've lived here, those crosses have increased a ton. And I just don't think it should be the new normal. And I think building a group together that can stop that is what is super important. I mean, these are young people, and it's just terrifying to me as a parent.
I agree with you there. And some of them are crosses for children, especially more recently. Thank you for answering my question.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
No questions, just I hope you run next year.
Any further questions? Councilmember Hess.
Ms. Johnston, if an official such as the fire marshal or public health director were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety or public health, what would your response be?
I would agree 100%. I think people in these positions are the expert in these positions. And council and the mayor should take their expert opinion for that, an expert opinion, and do as they're instructing.
I do have one more question.
Is there anyone else that had a question? Councilmember Brooks.
May I ask who it is that you brought with you tonight?
Oh, that's my husband, David.
Councilmember, any other questions? Councilmember Hess.
Reading through in your discussion about budgets and in the business world and dealing with things like that, how do you judge return on investment for city funding?
In the corporate world, we look at it over a 5-year span. So I think city would be done the same way, if not further.
Let me go ahead and clarify. In the business world, the return on investment that is usually looked at is when capital is spent or something you're looking for, is a profit occur or do you have a loss? With a city, how do you look at that? How do you look at return on investment when we do expenditures, such as purchasing land, funding parks and recreation, and things like that?
I would think it's the exact same. The city is a business, and the goal is for it to be a thriving business. So to make a purchase on land that does not foresee to be profitable would be a bad investment, the same way it would be in the business world.
Any further questions? Thank you very much, ma'am, and we'll, yeah, if you want to go back to that room. Our next up is Stephanie.
I got one better. Point of order, man.
We do have a little lax rules for a study session versus city council.
It's not like, well, wait a second.
We don't have rules, but that's it. That's nice to know somebody pays attention.
She is one of the thousands that watch our daily news. Or daily weeks or something else. It's about that. Stephanie, if you would please step up here and address the council with any comments, and then the council will go ahead and ask questions. Please, ma'am.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and address council with a speech or anything, please do that now.
Well, I am here because I would like to take the vacant position for our Yelm City Council. I have been here for 20 some years. Most of you know me. I'm on several boards throughout the city. I raised 3 boys here in the school district. I have one left who's a freshman in high school. And so I would be delighted to serve. Kind of bridge the gap between our citizens, our entire zip code of 98517. I own Bliss Experience in McKenna. So just actually outside the Thurston County border, which never made so much of a difference until COVID happened. But we serve so much of the Yelm community.
Councilor Richardson.
Yeah, I know a lot of what you do because you're so involved. You're so fantastically involved. You're very part of the community. Since I know all that, my question more so is, what kind of anxieties do you have coming into this position? Is there something like, if you're willing to share with us, that you're just, you might overwhelm you, because there are some anxieties that come with this, listening to people, having them think about you in a certain way, maybe. So there's some things there, but do you have some anxieties? Like, man, if I didn't, man, I gotta get, go ahead and share with us maybe some anxiety. Is that okay? You don't have to if you don't want to. You can be like, no, I don't want to. I'm just curious.
That's an opening question. It's my fears. I think the biggest anxiety is to be able to speak up, speak my voice, to be able, I work well on a team. And I do appreciate that, and just learning the ins and outs, the Robert's rules, the exactly when to bring up what concern, that type of a thing. Those are my anxieties, but I'm also a studier. And so I think once it's really laid out, I think that I could ace it. I could overcome those anxieties fairly easy.
Councilor Crossman.
I'm going to steal one of Brian's questions because it's really good. And he wants to say later, I think it should be on top. So especially since you're a business owner, you understand ROI and profit and stuff. So as a city doesn't have profit, but it does have an ROI on things. How do you define its ROI, and what would you want to see as an ROI in the city?
He said it much better.
Oh, I did say that, okay? So I gotta it takes me a minute to formulate it. I'm sure. Stephanie can ask for clarification if you like.
That's a really good question. And
What's that?
I have to say I'm probably stumped by it, truthfully. I can share that I would just do my best to study, research, see all of the details on both sides of things, and make the best decisions possible.
Councilor Hess.
Hold your question.
That's like his turn.
Was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
Say that again.
Was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
The 2020 election over COVID?
The 2020 election, presidential, governor, legislative, the whole election that occurred in 2020, was it legitimate and secure?
I have to have faith that it was legitimate.
Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you so much for applying this with us here and also your registered election. I would like to know, since today's agenda included the Yelm Homelessness Committee, what ideas or current experience do you have with the homeless here in our city?
I have been following the city council for probably about 5 years. I was able to sit in on a lot of the town hall meetings before when Molly Carmody and Joe DePinto ran that homelessness task force, researching and really assessing the problem. If there was a problem, what resources Yelm would bring. Our salon was actually part of one of the census counts and offered haircuts to be able to bring in and create an accurate count. Again, once I was on the other side of the council, I may have different opinions as far as what homelessness looks like based upon what I've seen. All I can go is with the past decisions of what homelessness look like.
For answering my question.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Firstly, thank you for stepping up and running for the seat coming up in the next election. And I also know that you're a very busy woman, and I want to make sure that you feel you have time for all the meetings and committees that you'll be expected to attend.
Yes.
Yes, I do. This was not a light decision for me. As I've mentioned, following city council for 4 or 5 years, I think my first, one of my first city council meetings, I actually brought my children to. They were becoming teenagers and I needed them to see that there was a world bigger than them. And so thus began my consistent commitment to come to the council meetings. I am here almost every Tuesday. I watch from the Zoom. I love that post-COVID, it seems that the city council meetings are much more transparent, much more available, and very easy to participate in. I think that if I was to be appointed into the position, that would become, well, let's be honest, my second priority because my business has to be my first. But I do believe that I can carve out quite enough time to make this the absolute priority. Learning what happens within our residential community. That's kind of the biggest priority above it all. I think everything else kind of comes underneath.
Thank you for participating all those years. Thank you. Thank you for participating in all those years. Yes.
Mhm.
Is there any further questions from the council? Councilmember Hess.
If an official, such as the fire marshal or public health director, were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety or public health, what would your response be?
If an official went to the mayor,
Such as the fire marshal or the public health director?
I think that I would have full faith in that government to make the best decisions based upon what the threat or concern might look like.
Any further questions? Councilmember Richardson.
Want to say a comment. You're a great mom. Way to go.
Any other questions, comments?
He's giving his
All righty, thank you very much. And we will go with Kathy next. Kathy Thomas.
Joe doesn't want to.
You step into the podium, address council with any comments or speech that you might have, and then we'll go ahead and ask questions, or the council will go ahead and ask questions of you.
Well, I don't have a speech prepared, but my name's Kathy Thomas and I moved to Yelm in 2019. So I'm still kind of new to this area, but I love it. And I just want to get more involved in my community and share my expertise in different areas. So that's about it.
Thank you. Councilor Richardson.
Kathy, my favorite thing that you put down was very level-headed, skilled in mediating tense situations.
Yes.
Find solutions to any problems that are brought. Love that. That's something that's hard to manage. And so I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Sure. I've been in the quick service / fast food industry since I was like 16. And I'm not sure if any of you frequent fast food or if you've ever worked for one, but you can have situations arise where people are unhappy with their orders, or employees are unhappy with their paychecks or their schedule or such. And I've always been general manager or co-manager of multiple restaurants. And I've always done very well at crew retention and keeping the peace and still running a profitable business.
Can I ask another question?
After everyone else has the opportunity. Councilor Crossman.
How come you chose not to run for one of the positions that's up for election?
I only saw the fill-in spot. That's the only one that I had saw. I didn't actually start looking into the city of Yelm, like in the council spots till last month, I think it was.
Where did you see that at?
On the website, City of Yelm website, I think it was.
Councilor S.
Ms. Thomas, was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
Or
The full election process, in other words, from the president all the way down to city council members and dog catcher.
in my opinion, yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas, for coming here tonight and for applying to be one of us. I welcome you. And I would like to know more about what you define as small town values.
I guess when I walk down Main Street here and I see different businesses and you walk in and they're very friendly, or when I go to a fast food restaurant, and like I said, I've been to management in them for years and years, but the whole attitude is just so much different here. I would go to the Burger King or the McDonald's or the KFC, and the employees were just so friendly, and the managers would just talk to you for no reason, and it was just this ease about the whole experience, I guess you would want to call it, and at Safeway or Walmart too, and it just felt so much like I was home. I just was so happy that I decided to live here.
Thank you for answering my question.
Councilor Kaminsky.
No questions, but thank you for applying.
Councilor Richardson.
Yeah, Kathy, my second question is, if you do not get this appointment, will you continue to apply?
Yes,
Yes.
very much, yes. I'm very new to all this and I'm hoping to learn more. I want to start coming to more of the meetings that you guys hold every Tuesday. Being more present and just being more involved than just living here. Because change can't happen unless I'm in part of that change.
So any other questions? Councilmember Hess.
Ms. Thomas, if an official such as fire marshal or public health director were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety or public health, what would your response be?
I would totally investigate, I guess, and then back whatever the mayor decided to.
Thank you.
Councilor Brooks.
I have one more question for you, and that's you stated you're willing to participate more. So I'm curious, which one of our council committees are you most interested in participating or being part of?
I don't know the whole list of what even programs or committees there are. I think I saw one, it was safety. I was previously in the Lacamas Valley Safe Streets, and we would help clean up homeless encampments and food handing out and things like that. So I think that would be where I want to start, to give back and to help the community.
Thank you for answering my question.
Any further questions? Councilor Hess.
In your application, Ms. Thomas, you talk about being being very business savvy, budget savvy and such. How would you judge return of investment, ROI, for a municipality, the city, in reference to our expenditures?
To be honest, I'm not really sure of all that lingo. I know what I can answer is when I was in the management business and fast food, I would be given a monthly budget and in certain, how much paper I could order and food I could order. And then, we would inventory those items and compare to see how much, our outgoing compared to what our incoming was. And almost always was right on budget or exceeded and made it better. And that'd probably be something I need to learn more about.
Any further questions? Thank you very much, ma'am. And if you want to go ahead and back, we'll call you all back here in a bit. Next, we have Tracy Wood.
So we have two more left.
Correct.
So we'll have to hear Brian's questions two more times.
You get to hear their answers. That's more important.
There you go. There you go. I know, that's something I thought about it. Like, oh, how do you phrase it again?
I didn't even know how to answer what you asked.
I did. I was so good.
He had more.
Communication is the highest form of flattery.
I said it was great.
Just for reference, Jonathan is not here, so Tracy will be our last.
If you want to go ahead and step to the podium, if you have a speech, say it. If not, we'll go ahead and start with questions from the council.
I appreciate the opportunity for you to consider me for the position. Go ahead and ask me what you like.
Councilmember Richardson.
Tracy, since you got some experience, what are we missing? If there's something we need to be educated on. You've done this before. What are we missing?
Well, I don't know that you're missing anything. It's a matter of the more different perspectives of things that you can bring in, the better opportunity it is to make good decisions. So I don't think you're missing anything other than just more perspective.
Councilmember Crossman.
So you were on council for quite a while, then you're off, had your little respite now. So what do you miss most about being on council?
The debates, the discussions, just the study sessions, probably more than anything. The opportunity to dig in and really get to know what's going on rather than having a 10,000-foot view of it and trying to decipher what it is you're looking at.
Councilmember Hess.
Was the 2020 election legitimate and secure?
Apparently so. As far as what I'm being told, yeah.
Councilmember Brooks.
All right. Mr. Wood, thank you for being here with us tonight and for applying. I noticed in your application that you mentioned the homeless. I'm curious what your strategy would look like in this council.
Well, I just believe that there is a lot of confusion between homelessness and vagrancy. And if I said homelessness, the issue with homelessness is folks that are homeless don't want to be homeless. They'd like to get the help to get back on their feet and get moving in the right direction. I don't believe that's necessarily one of our biggest problems here when it comes to the folks around here. I think what we have is folks who have found it easier to not be involved in society, but to take advantage of those of us that are paying our taxes and doing what we can to help better our environment and our community.
Answering my question.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Why do you want to run again, Tracy?
I like to be involved.
I like to be involved.
With us?
I did. Yeah, I missed you guys. I took a break because I needed to gain some perspective, and I'd been here for quite some time, and I think it was important to kind of step out and, get an outside view after being, inside for so long. You try to maintain that perspective, but I think that after my sabbatical, my escape, I think that I have some whole new perspectives, some whole new understanding.
Refreshed and ready to go.
Ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from the council? Councilmember Hess.
Mr. Wood, if an official such as fire marshal or public health director were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety or public health, what would your response be?
Could you repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay, here's again.
If an official such as fire marshal or public health director were to inform the mayor that something is to be canceled for public safety or public health, what would your response be?
Well, my response would be to immediately postpone it until we got some more details as to what the reasoning was behind that request.
Any other further questions? Councilmember Brooks.
Yes, Mr. Wood, what will you do to diversify your audience as it pertains to informing constituents and then also getting information from them?
Diversify my audience. Can you elaborate on what you mean?
Absolutely. How will you ensure that the voice that you give here for the people is unbiased to your own?
Is unbiased? Just by my actions, I suppose there would be, I can't imagine any other way to assure them other than to verbally say that, but I think actions speak louder than words. So I think based off of my actions, I think people will see and know where I am and what I stand for. And I've always been an open book on anybody asking me anything. I'm more than happy to share my views and perspectives on it.
Great. Thank you for answering my question.
Any further questions from the council? All right, thank you very much. I'll bring them all out. Thank you. All righty. At this time, we'll go ahead and one executive session to evaluate the qualification of candidates for appointment to an elected office according to RCW 42.30.110H. It'll last for 30 minutes. Let's see. We'll be back at 7:27.
No laptops with us?
No, you leave those here. Oops.
Yeah.
Apologize to everyone, but we go and discuss qualifications. We'll come back. If there's any further discussion, I'll have it. They'll make a decision. That council member will then, whoever the appointed will then take the seat immediately and we'll continue on with the business. At 7:27.
Reminding.
We are now going to go through just an update of what is the process is. Ranked choice voting. Council members will vote for their top 5 candidates in the order of preference using a link provided to them, which they all have. If a candidate wins an outright majority on the first preference votes, 50% or more, so in this case, 3 votes, they will be declared the winner. If no candidates win an outright majority on the first preference votes, the candidate with the fewest first preference votes is eliminated. All first preference votes for the failed candidate are eliminated, lifting the next preference choice indicated on those ballots. A new tally is conducted to determine whether any candidate has won an outright majority of the adjusted voters. The process is repeated until a candidate wins the majority of votes cast. And again, for council, you're going to rank your top 5 candidates in order of preference using that link that you should have. Is everyone up on that right now? Brian, or Councilmember Hess, did you?
It's logging in.
Okay.
Getting out there.
Votes will automatically go to the ranked vote program that we have. It'll be all transparent. We'll put it up on the screen so everyone can see it. It'll show all the council members' votes and all that. Once each council member is voted, all votes will be shared publicly and solved for the transparency. And the rank vote program will automatically calculate the votes for us. So it's not us calculating anything, it's automatic. And we'll go ahead and, Councilmember Hess, are you up yet? Okay. And then for candidates, again, thank you so much for being out here and applying for this. I would encourage you to, if you don't get selected, to keep staying involved. There's a lot of committees that you can be a part of. I would go to website. We have different applications you can do on that. I would encourage you highly to do that. Appreciate it if you would. You all did really good in your interview process here. And so the person that is selected, appointed by the council, will go ahead and take their seat immediately. I will swear you in. And then you will go ahead and start voting on the rest of our agenda. So without too much further ado, well, Councilmember Hess?
I'm there.
You're good? All right, council members, please go ahead and choose your, go through the process and make your selections. What's it now? Councilmember Cross.
Just,
You good?
yeah. I'm not, okay.
Is that show anywhere?
Not right now, but once you do your voting, we will display it on the board up there. Got some jeopardy in that.
You can't vote for Cody.
So this process usually takes another 45 minutes or so, and then we'll get back into it. Just kidding, just kidding. Want to give me a little nod if you finish voting?
Should we submit?
Thumbs up.
It'll show up right here too.
Yeah, submit.
Yeah.
Councilor Richardson, you voted? Councilor Crossman, have you voted? Councilor Hess, have you voted?
Yes.
Councilor Brooks, have you voted?
No.
Okay, you're good.
Hard.
Not easy. Yes.
Good. All right. All the council members have submitted their ranked choice voting. I wouldn't close it just yet, just in case there's still, yeah. We have everyone.
5 votes received.
We have 5. You can close your Thanks if you your laptops if you want. You don't have to do it. The screen first before, yeah.
Intelligence. Signal.
Yes.
You're gonna show that.
To get the.
I'm gonna show the results.
It's downloading, but I can't. How do I get the download?
I'm starting to doubt if this election is fair and close.
For being a computer, it's kind of slow.
It's not, we have the results. It's just getting it up there in the right screen and everything.
I would just put it up there.
As we have.
Yeah, but yeah.
Do we?
If you go to that nature.
You want to show the.
No, it showed, yeah, we did.
So you voted first, you can populate that.
And then go to the actual program after that.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're going, showing who voted for who, and then the program will go ahead and it's already in there. So we'll be showing who voted for who, and then we'll go through the program itself and we'll determine the winner that way.
Okay.
No, it's not a secret ballot. It has to be published.
Interesting. Yeah, okay.
So this shows Councilmember Brooks' choices 1 through 5 here. Councilmember Hess, did you only vote for 3?
That is correct.
Councilmember Hess voted for his top 3 choices. Councilmember Richardson voted for his top 5 choices. Councilmember Crossman voted for those choices. And Councilmember Kaminsky voted for. Well, so now we will share the.
We'll have a first round winner though. What's up? Yeah. Based it into a new.
Yeah, I did already, when you put it on, copied it. I guess.
The first with 3 votes in the first round, Amanda Johnstone is the winner. Congratulations, Amanda. You want to go ahead and step up here to the podium? I'll go ahead and swear you in. You can take your seat. All right. Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Amanda Johnstone,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the constitutional laws
and the Constitution of laws
of the state of Washington,
of the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of of City of Yelm City Council, position number 1,
of City of Yelm City Council, position number 1,
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, Councilmember Johnstone. Thank you so much for everyone that applied. Again, I suggest that everyone would fill out an application for our different committees, and we would absolutely love to have you on those. So again, thank you so much for everyone that participated in this process. Thank you, council, for making those decisions. And we will move on with our next new business. 6C, we have an interlocal agreement to establish the Bud Deschutes Watershed Environmental Stewardship Coalition. And we have Cody that's going to brief us on this one.
All right, so before council tonight is an interlocal agreement. There is a history on there, but I'll just give you a quick recap. We talked about this at the council retreat last year, if you remember, but if not, this is an interlocal agreement that was we came in jointly with the Squaxin tribe, Olympia and Lacey back in 2011 when our water rights were kind of on the verge of happening before everything else that happened. Now that we have our water rights and we received those last year, this agreement has been fulfilled. So we need to enter into an interlocal agreement with them to continue to maintain the watershed. We started this talk May, June of last year, and it took till now to get the whole interlocal agreement hashed out. So it's been a lot of meetings with a lot of people getting this hashed out. This agreement will just continue to solidify our relationship with the Squaxin tribe and maintain that water mitigation plan to continue to keep our water rights. I'll be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Director Colt, in reference to the property and the agreement, there's different processes of taking care of that property. Located and all. What is the plan on upgrading and taking care of that property to help mitigate for water rights?
Yeah, so some things that have already been established is they've started to reestablish the buffer zone. So it used to be a farm. This is the, what's the name of the farm? It's now called the Deschutes Inlet, but I can't remember. Yeah, Prairie, there you go, Smith Farm. So, yeah, so we purchased that property along with those other two cities several years ago. And what we've done is slowly enhance the river area. So where the river flows through, there's been enhancement, adding trees, removing, other stuff, invasive species. And the rest of the property is an old grange field. So it has a lot of crops on it. And so that does get harvested as hay once a year as we slowly move more of that back and add more trees back to the life of the property. So if you go to the property, which I'd be happy to take you guys, we go once a year to kind of walk it over. You can see slowly the trees and everything being rebuilt as we move it slowly back into the field. So,
Councilmember Richardson.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, again, the 500,000 seed money.
Correct.
Is that something that, where's that come from and what is that? I want the, so people can understand.
Yeah, so every city along with the Squaxin tribe said they were going to put money towards enhancing this. So that seed money has been sitting right now in our water capital fund. It's still there. Our goal is to invest that money until it's needed, which we are currently doing through our investment group. So it's money that we've been holding on to for this whole time that sits in that capital fund and continues to sit there and gain interest.
That money is earmarked for this year?
Correct. It's earmarked for this if needed.
Councilmember Hess.
I've already asked one.
Councilmember Brooks.
Oh, I was going to motion to authorize the city of Yelm to enter into an interlocal agreement to establish the Bud Deschutes Watershed Environmental Stewardship Coalition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Crossman, second. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Hess.
Director Colt, again, because I know that area, what is the mitigation in reference to the beavers of that area?
So yeah, we actually had several beavers that came into that area and created an actual dam and flooded a couple of properties. So we put in some byways for the water to get through so those beavers wouldn't have to be displaced, but water would continue and not flood properties. So it's a consistent thing. We have a group we work with called the Salmon Enhancement Recovery Group that goes out there and does monitoring, has worked with these properties, and they continue to monitor those things and fix those things as they come up. What you will see, just kind of an insight, is after this, you'll see an agreement to continue that maintenance of this property will be the next thing you'll see, which will come up to your next council meeting. So just be aware that once this moves forward, you'll see another one for the actual maintenance of that property to continue.
Is there any further questions? Councilmember Hess.
In reference to the maintenance, how is, because I don't remember how much each element put into the pot, and then how much is it based upon population use, or is it everybody is equally the same amount?
Everyone is, so between us, Olympia and Lacey, everyone pays the exact same amount into this. The number fluctuates, so we didn't have to pay into this until last year. If you remember, we had that large budget amendment we had to do because we finally have to pay into the water rights that we're getting. So every year we pay for the maintenance. The new contract, it's roughly about anywhere from 15 to 20,000 a year per city for a whole year of maintenance. And that involves them coming out, doing work, harvesting the field, adding trees, removing dams, helping remove fence posts, stuff like that.
Any further questions? It's been motion seconded. To authorize city of Yelm to enter our local group establishment issues watershed environmental stewardship coalition. No further discussion. We'll take a roll call vote. Starting with Councilmember Johnstone.
Aye.
Councilor Richardson.
Yes.
Councilmember Crossman.
Yes.
Councilor Hess.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky. Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to new business, item D. Purchase property located at 15425 State Route 507 Yelm, Washington, county tax parcel number 2172444050. Cody, please. No, this is Todd, please. Chief Administrator.
So I'll give you we'll go over just some of the summary, the history of how we got here tonight. So the Yelm City Council met in an executive session on March 28, 2023 to discuss with legal counsel the consideration of site selection or acquisition real estate as allowed by RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1B. City staff has worked with legal counsel to negotiate the price to purchase the property located at 15425 State Route 507 parcel 217-2444050 for the amount of $225,000. Public Services team has done extensive work during the inspection feasibility period, have determined that the property is usable for various purposes to be determined by City Council at a later date. Purchasing the property would allow the city to consider a couple options in realigning the intersection and constructing a left turn lane to assist with safer travel options. So,
Questions? Councilor Hess.
Just for clarity for the constituents, how large is this property that we're looking at purchasing again?
2.3 acres in total.
No further questions? Councilor Crossman.
So public comment here. In my disagreement with this, because I don't feel it's a good enough plan, and the city should be spending this money on it at this time on this property.
Some further discussion. Councilor Hess.
Is it possible to share some of the ideas that we're looking at in reference to the utilization of that property at this time?
Sure, absolutely. Did you want to do that, or do you want some?
I can do it, or city administrator can. Some of the uses that were discussed for this is across the street as part of the parcel, if I remember correct. We were going to look at it to see if it could be large enough to set up as a parking lot for more access to the Tenino Yelm Trail. Being able to allow that access. On the side for the majority of the property, as was already stated, a left turn lane will be developed there. In fact, that's one of the big reasons why, if I remember correct, that property is not sold, is because whoever purchases it to set up any kind of business has to do that mitigation, and that becomes a large cost. We're looking at making, one of the ideas was moving the Veterans Memorial from City Park to that location to take advantage of Mill Pond to develop that and have a wonderful reflection pond where people can go. And we were also looking at if it could be done, the Veterans Hub being there, if there was enough space there for parking and the appropriate structure. So, I mean, we have looked at this, and there's a lot of uses for it and what we can do with this property to make the city more inviting, as well as give something back to the residents themselves.
Good assessment. Is there anything, Cody, did you want to add from your? You did perfectly. Your staff though did praise it or look at it or?
Yeah, so we did. So we did a kind of a mock pre-sub. So when someone wants to develop one, do we go through a pre-sub process? So we did a mock pre-sub. Saw how big of a building could fit there with the worst case scenario, like maximum wetland buffer, everything that you could possibly imagine wrong. And you could still fit a roughly 4,000 to 6,000 square foot building with up to 30 parking spots in a worst case scenario, but it won't be like that when we get there. So.
And we are also, and just to add to your comments about parking across the street, that is our intent to turn some of that property into parking spaces for the trail. So we will be working with the county, though. We're currently trying to take over our section of the trail. It's currently maintained by Thurston County. We would we would like to take more ownership over that's inside the city limits, as well as that would allow us to build even more parking in that area. Councilmember Kaminsky.
I move to approve the purchase of real estate located at 15425 State Route 507 in Yelm, tax parcel 21724440500 for the amount of $225.
Councilmember Hess, second by Councilmember Hess. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote and we'll start down on this end. Councilmember Kaminsky.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Hess.
Yes.
Councilmember Crossman.
No.
Councilmember Richardson.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnstone.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you, council. And moving on, open business. Thank you. Thank you, Brent, for being here. Brent, and Brent Dilley is our city attorney. Thank you for being here for that.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to standing council committee reports. Public Safety Committee. Councilmember Smith is the chair of that one. Councilmember Hess, you're on that committee as well, aren't you? Do you have any updates from that committee?
Let's see if I have the notes real quick. Stay there. Yes, Chief Carlson briefed us about the engrossed second substitute bill 5536, which happens to be the bill that was passed during the special session in reference to drug possession. Thurston County is going to be the law enforcement elements of Thurston County, and I believe with prosecutors are going to sit down and try to figure out how they want to do it. At some point, we are going to have to put it in, we're going to have to codify it ourselves at the municipal level so that we as a city can be the prosecutors of the misdemeanor for that. Also, the spring 2023 terrorism threat briefing for the Southwest Washington Anti-Terrorism Group. He gave us a briefing about that and working with the various resources out there. It was very interesting to hear the various extremist groups that are in our area that part of that briefing was also about this weekend's activities. So that's why we planned accordingly, and I think it was very well done, that planning for the security of that. Officer, and please help me out with the name, I can't remember her name, or the third SWAT position, or what was it? Robert Sammy. She is the third SWAT position in the area that we have. We have a total from our law enforcement side. We have 3 officers that are part of that. And according to him, she's kicking butt, doing a great job.
It's the first time we've ever had 3 SWAT officers.
The SROs, they're finding the deferral program and essay instead of tickets, very helpful. What they mean by that is the youth, this doesn't account for adults, so don't get excited. The youth, if they get caught with a moving violation, they are given an option to write an essay or accept the ticket. And so they've found that's been very helpful. The youth are learning and they're taking responsibility and learning various consequences of their actions.
We should consider expanding that to adults as well.
No. And then we had our fireworks discussion, which later this month we will have additional information on. He briefed on the Juneteenth preparation, which was this weekend. Talked about the management retreat that they had, which was very successful. He loved the community that they went to. It was a really nice community and recommended that if, maybe that might be somewhere we can go sometime as well. And then Sonia, she gave the court updates. I don't have those numbers here, but we are utilizing the space that we have at the Nisqually jail, and court session is going very well. And then for emergency management, the June 14th Thurston County Emergency Coordination Center overview training is coming up. That's tomorrow. And so we aren't going to be meeting again until August due to the fact that 4th of July falls on our next meeting day.
All right. Great. Next up, we have Public Services Committee.
Nothing new to report since last meeting.
We only got the Finance Committee.
No meeting.
All right. Moving on to Mayor, City Administrator, staff reports.
Yeah, the only update I'll give is just that parade is starts next week. Kind of kicks off Tuesday with some activities and a full slate of events scheduled through the week and obviously through the weekend with the parade on Saturday at 9:00. And I believe we have quite a few entries so far.
Yeah, over 40.
Over 40. So that's fantastic. And then of course, the mush ball tournament is on Sunday. So get your team signed up.
Ball.
Large ball, large softball. Think about that.
For my report, I just want to congratulations to Councilmember Johnstone. Congratulations on making it through, and you did wonderful through your speech and everything. Good questions, good answers. For external committees, I attended the TRPC committee, there's Regional Planning Commission, the council, our agenda planning session. We just go over, I'm part of the executive committee on that. We just went over what we're going to be talking about coming the end of the month. Other than that, have an AWC conference next week for it's our annual conference over in Spokane. Councilmember Brooks is going to be joining me as well, representing the city, and looking forward to all those different seminars and different events going on for that. Other than that, let's start off with Councilmember Kaminsky for your councilmember reports.
I have no active reports. All my meetings are next week, so nothing to report.
Great. Councilmember Brooks.
Time. One thing you missed, Mayor, is that tomorrow is Community Conversations at Pizza Hut.
I didn't want to steal your thunder.
It's one of my favorite events, and I will be missing this one, so I hope someone can step in my spot. Yeah, because I've gone to almost every one for a year now.
It is good to have a council member perspective at these events. You get it from myself and Cody and our chief of police. But it's nice to have a different perspective as well.
What time does that occur?
That's at noon at Yelm Pizza Hut this time. First place of employment here in the city of Yelm. My first job ever.
Someone else?
All right. Anything else, Councilmember Brooks?
Of course there is. So last week I was a part of the Yelm Community School mock interviews, where I was able to interview a handful of freshmen that were preparing to enter the workforce. I interviewed aspiring architects, voice actors, and overall contributing citizens. They are excited to enter the workforce, and having myself there to ease their nerves in doing this mock interview, I think is just setting them up for success. So the other thing that I've done recently is a meeting with Habitat for Humanity. If you don't know, Habitat for Humanity has purchased land and they plan on building dozens of homes where they will house those with an income between 30 and 80% of the median income. So that is an exciting progression when it comes to housing everyone, and everyone deserves to have a roof over their head, and the programs that they offer and their application process. It really is setting them up for success. And that's what I'll stop at this time. Oh, wait, no, I'm not done. I'm so excited for everyone who is going to be a part of the Yelm Homelessness Committee. I know you didn't name them out loud, but I know a good chunk of them, and I'm excited to have deeper conversations with them and get that going. Get it going. All right.
Yeah. For us.
Intercity Transit Authority, nothing really new to present. They've talked about all their capital projects that are going on and such. And just to be honest, I'm looking forward to when they can get to 100% resources. So if you know anybody who's looking for a job, they're looking for bus drivers. If you're a diesel mechanic, they're looking for diesel mechanics. They're looking for a variety of people to help out. Intercity Transit Authority, great organization to work for. Other meetings are coming up starting tomorrow. And then I want to say for this weekend, the Pride event was a great event. It went, it was a fun event, educational, and such. Also walked the farmers market. It was good to see that they were benefiting. Both elements were helping out with each other. In addition, listening to the music going, all I could think was, wouldn't it be nice if once we get our stage built, to just kind of basically say every Friday night or whenever we can have party in the park for Yelm. And when we get our one-way couplets going, bring in the food trucks and just have a fun, friendly family event of community building for that. In addition, tomorrow is the Army's birthday. I want to say happy birthday to the Army. In addition, it's also Flag Day, very important day for that. And then in reference to, I want to add to Juneteenth, some information in reference to that. The history since Juneteenth, since our 13th and 14th Amendments were passed, has been a very rough history for a large group of people. I mean, it's been very difficult. Many people just recently learned the past couple of years about the Oklahoma City riots that occurred, which very few people were ever taught about. There's also information coming out now in reference to Memphis, riots that were done in Memphis. In fact, what occurred in Memphis, the police, with the encouragement of leadership, actually went in and just kind of beat up the former slaves and various people of color. And it was after that event that they realized we need to pass the 14th Amendment, that the Immaculation Proclamation was just not enough. So it's been a very trying period for everybody. And I think Juneteenth is a really a special day to kind of remember that 2 years after the end of the Civil War in Texas, they finally realized that they were free, that they were no longer enslaved individuals anymore. So I just want to add to that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Hess. Councilmember Crossman.
A couple of things. Let's start with the heavy stuff and go to the light stuff. So in regards to June 10th, as I've been reached out to multiple times in various forums and thoughts and opinions, it is too soon, but to answer the question of the cost of that in reference to law enforcement and who's footing the bill for that. I know.
So just briefly, real quick, if that's all right on that.
Sure. I was expecting, but sure.
So we don't have the exact costs on it. We're still developing those, but what we are responsible for is the City of Yelm Police, State Patrol, and SWAT. Thurston County, Thurston County Sheriff, SWAT, State Patrol. They all had their own, and Fire Department as well. They all had their own budgets. Todd, please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
And the
Squally tribe as well. Those are the partners that were there, but we were responsible for the real time for the City of Yelm officers.
And then, yeah, those numbers, a lot of people would like to know and how the justification came about to spend that kind of money on an event that required a lot more than something that a typical event doesn't require that much cost with a lot greater ROI to it. So those questions would like to be answered. And like I said, it's too fresh to dive into that further right now because there's a lot of stuff that has to be tabulated. And I hope that we will we look at events at the park and the cost of that, because that's a serious thing. That's taxpayer money. When they can have an event at a private venue and not require lawful, or they could pay for it, whatever event.
Yeah, and again, we will on Thursday after we have the briefing, go over the budget and all that and how much it did cost taxpayers of Yelm.
And then, yep, and as Councilmember Hatch said, observe Flag Day tomorrow. You may find me somewhere passing out flags, potentially. Hey, just have to be out in Yelm. I'm out in Yelm, so. Flag Day, it's a pretty cool day, fun day. And then June is Men's Health Awareness Month. And this is a word out to the guys, man. If you need help, you're struggling, reach out to another guy, come to us. So Brother Joe here, more than willing to help.
Health awareness.
That's your job, man. It's helping guys. The number one cause of death for men is drugs and suicide. By a lot. If you know, those numbers, it's kind of sad to see by this blows everything else away. So if you're a guy and you're struggling, reach out to me, from somebody, find another guy. You're not alone in the fight. And that's what I have.
Councilor Hess, do you have a question?
It wasn't a question. I was going to kind of, because we were briefed during the public safety. In reference to the reason why we are police presence, but I have to thank the police chief and everybody who was involved in doing that. It was briefed that we were looking at the Proud Boys and some other alt extremist groups coming and disrupting. And so with that presence, I honestly believe we averted that, because down in Centralia, they did get, their celebration was disrupted by neo-Nazi and such elements. And so it was worth having that there, because Yelm, from what I recall, was the primary. A lot of the indications and warnings out there were that Yelm was the primary one that they wanted to come after.
Councilor Crossman?
And this in response to that. And this weekend event was canceled outside Portland because Antifa's threats were so great that they canceled the event out of public safety. Instead of spending tons of money on law enforcement, they chose just to not hold the event for beautiful labor. So you have that balance.
Thank you, Councilor Crossman. Councilor Richardson?
Yeah, I attended SWAC, which is a Solid Waste Advisory Committee. We talk trash. The thing that I learned the most was pizza boxes are no longer recyclable. I know, right? I thought the same thing. It's the grease that is contaminating the whole load. So stop recycling your pizza boxes and just throw them in the trash, because that's the thing.
Good to know.
I'm new. But yeah, keep that in mind. Also attended the chamber forum today, and that was very well put together by the director, Amanda over here. She did a lot of work and gave awards to businesses and organizations that really are impacting our community involved. So thank you for all the hard work you do. And good attendance from the city. Thank you, city, for participating.
Councilor Richardson. Councilor Johnstone?
I have no report.
Councilor Hess?
One alibi. Just for the public out there, I am a council member. A lot of emails had gone out to other council members. For some reason I was missed. So I don't know if it's that I'm not, that if it's a link for council members, something to go out to everybody and I'm just not on that link, or I just wasn't included. But please, just understand, I will engage, I will talk, I will work with you and listen to your concerns and address them accordingly.
Right. Thank you, Councilor Hess. All righty, there's nothing else. Take a motion to adjourn. Councilor Hess motion, is there a second? Second by Councilor Crossman, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.